Hey everyone, how's everyone doing? It is the last day of April 2023. Tomorrow is May the 1st. I'm super excited. May is my birthday month. I'm going to be 36 years old. Sometimes I feel like I'm 14, 15. Other days I feel like I'm 50. So, womanhood, it's very powerful, I'll tell you that. So, there's a lot of interesting topics that I really like talking about, but maybe we'll just make this video more geared around the eclipse, lunar eclipse that's taking place on the 5th of May. So I'm gonna share some interesting facts that are actually taking place right now in my life and see how it may apply or may not apply to you, but everyone's situation is a little different, obviously, okay? With that being said, I wasn't gonna go to Yerevan, but since the last eclipse in Aries, things have been a little bit like, and Mercury retrograde, I think on the 26th of April, again, things from the past, people, situations that I completely forgot about, our memories are so powerful that it's as if it was like happening all over again, or it resurfaced, and I remember people's faces and situations and things that happened that I had forgotten, but it's like ingrained in your cells. So memories came up, and I, for a day straight, I was crying heavily. 27th in the morning I was crying, and then 28th it all calmed down. I was still crying, as you can see. Look at my under eyes from crying. So I have no makeup on. You can see, like, look at that. Anyhow, I don't even care. But, excuse me. So a few things have changed in a sense that I'm going to Yerevan for about 4 or 5 days. From the 6th to, I think, the 10th or 11th. And then for about 3 or 4 days, I'm going to be in Dilijan for my birthday. And even though I said I was going to be alone for my birthday this year, guess what's happening? For 10, 11 days, I'm leaving the country and I'm going to Jordan with a group of people, with a group of healers. It's going to be a nice retreat. We're going to go to Amman, Jordan. Oh my God, I'm so excited. It's going to be fascinating. I can't wait until I just connect with the Bedouins and, if I'm saying it correctly, Bedouin Arabs. And, how they'll respond to my facial tattoos and such, because I've always had a fascination with the Bedouin Arabs. With that being said, I want to release something and just get it out there so that I don't have to ever remember in a painful state. When I was a little girl, as you guys know, I was pretty much abandoned and neglected by family members, cousins, aunts, and uncles. My mom's side of the family, there was a lot of aunts and uncles. She had 5 brothers and cousins and everything. And, parents, they'll sit down with their kids, brothers and sisters, they'll sit down with their youngest child, sister. I was the youngest. My brother's 5 years older than me, my sister 9 years older than me. You would think that, I would have stages of development where they'd sit down, teach me mathematics, sit down, teach me this, teach me that, take my school books and teach me how to learn and grasp and feed me so I could digest and understand. No, none of it. None of it ever happened. So it was always me kind of just having to teach myself the long, hard way with no one helping me. And I would get mocked by teachers and everything because they didn't understand what the frick was going on. How do I tell them? Anyways, what do you do, right? And it wasn't only until high school when the teachers and psychologists figured it out. It's all family oriented. So there were points where my aunt and uncle, my mom's oldest brother, Reuben, they had a big house in Thornhill or Richmond Hill at the time with big land, a tennis court, a swimming pool. Downstairs in the basement, they had a play, gambling, play, all these play things, okay? So I would probably stay, I think I only stayed there 2 years in a row or 1 year in a row, only in the summer for a month or 2 out of my life. Maybe a month or 2 I would sleep over there because my mom would say, Silva, my aunt, my uncle's wife would say, why don't we just keep your daughter here, you know? And like, I was a very easy kid. I would never say I'm hungry, feed me. I would never bother anyone. My cousin Haig's friends would come over. I was so embarrassed and shy as a child because my mom would make fun of me and say, if you express your creativity, if you talk, if you express yourself, people will make fun of you. I was mocked a lot, okay? So I was very insecure as a child. And I kind of somewhat did start to believe that because she would say it in a way like, that's why no one's ever there for you in your life. People are making fun of you. And I didn't understand it, right? So I would just be super shy and I'd hide in my little bedroom that they would give me to sleep in when people would come because I was so shy and embarrassed. Okay, my face would go all red. Or I would pretend like I'm sick and I'd lay in bed, okay? Just because I was so shy. And my cousin Haig he was obsessed with this vampire movie, Interview with the Vampire, with Brad Pitt, and I forget the other guy, another major actor. And he used to say that little girl with the curly hair, he's like, just reminds me of you. Like, he was just like your story, you know? Anyhow, the next year after, and I would, again, the same situation. I don't ever recall bathing in their house either. I would just like go in their swimming pool and the chlorine would just like watch me. And then I remember one time, you know, in the pool, there's like water drippets that come out, right? For the water comes out and it's like mixed with chlorine. I remember like I was just like pretty much trying to clean myself because I noticed, you know, water's coming there. And I was alone, right? And I think I noticed my older cousin, Haig's older brother, Harut, and like my aunt and uncle, they're just watching me like, what is she doing? Is she touching herself? Is she playing with herself? And then I pulled back because I noticed them staring at me. I was probably like 9, 10 years old. And I guess when they thought like I'm always alone, maybe they thought I was touching myself. I don't know, okay? Listen to this. And I'm so sorry, like, if I'm startling a few people because I'm always talking about sexuality with kids and you know, just awkwardness with these type of things. It's just that there's some things, you're right, that shouldn't be said. And I'm broadcasting it all over my YouTube channel. And this could make people really uncomfortable. I get it. And I'm sorry if it offends you. But I'm also not sorry. I'm sorry for myself that I've had to endure certain circumstances and people have always never really been there to even sit down and talk to me about these things or like, you know, growing up. So I'm sorry for myself. And anyhow, so I think they just pretty much didn't say anything to me. They went in and then I went in by myself. They wouldn't have dinner with me. I guess I weirded them out. I don't know. I didn't say anything. And then I just basically dried myself up. I changed. And then they basically told me your food is, you know, eat whenever. But they told me to eat whenever they were all done. And then I went downstairs to watch like TV or a movie. So I was always usually alone, just watching movies by myself. It's not like I was hanging out with my aunt or uncle or anything. Do you get what I mean? So probably a year later, they ended up having a cottage somewhere up north. So I went to this cottage, and my cousin Haig is 4 years older than me, okay? So my cousin Haig and like 2 or 3 of his male friends, they were there, and I was hanging out with them, okay? So obviously a girl who's awkward such as me, who never has her brother around, her older brother around, and like her sister around, and it was just awkward for me because I was never socializing. I was never allowed to be with friends. I was never anything, you know? And like, don't get me wrong, when I was 3 or 4 years old, I was always singing and dancing. And in order for my mom to control that, because she hated me being creative, she didn't allow me to draw and scribble and paint or nothing. So I was just basically like the USSR or like in a military, I had to just sit there and shut up and not be a girl. Okay, or express my creative self. So mumbling on into almost 10 minutes into this video, okay? The guys were all just hanging out and they used to always say to me, tell her, why do you like not associate with us? And I was like, I don't know, maybe because you guys are older boys and I'm a younger girl. So his friend, I think his friend's name was Jack. I don't think they're friends anymore. He's like, don't do that. You come with us. We'll go fishing together, you know? So I started fishing with them and it was fun. I remember they had like a box, not a box, but like a little, you know, of like black leeches, and they told me don't put your hand in the leeches. So what did I do? I put my entire hand in the leeches, the little bowl, and I saw all the black leeches sucking on my blood. And I only wanted, if someone tells me don't do something, I'm just curious to understand, okay? In science class, I always won when it came to like competition or awards in regards to like dissecting things and building things and the laws of like quantum physics. Till now, I'm so into it, right? So pretty much a geek in a female body, right? Anyhow, so whatever, I started hanging out with them, and they were watching a movie one day, and I was just, I guess I was tired, I was shy, I don't remember, I'm a fucking kid. They were saying let's play hide and seek, okay, but they're there, they didn't end up playing, so I'm just laying there, right, on the floor. And then all of a sudden, my uncle Ruben, he lost his fucking mind. He's screaming like a lunatic, get off the floor. What the hell are you doing on the floor with guys? And I'm like, okay. I got scared. I ran to my room and I shut the door. All I recall him yelling and screaming is, don't you ever bring that girl here. I'm his niece, okay? According to these people, I'm his blood. Don't you ever bring that girl here ever again. It's like she wants it. And I remember hearing Silva, they have no idea I heard this. I remember Silva going, what do you mean? What are you talking about? She's just a little girl. She's not doing anything. And he's like, obviously, why is she laying there like that? It's like she wants it. Excuse me? So my understanding is, and he said, don't, and then all I remember is her going, well, what are we going to tell her mother? What are we going to tell the parents? He goes, nothing, we won't say anything. He goes, we just won't bring her back here anymore. And I'm listening at the door, by the way. And he's like, and if they say anything for next year for her to spend the summer or the month with us, we'll just say we can't, we're not going, or we don't have, no, we'll just say no without saying anything or a reason why. So I kept this all to myself. I didn't see these people for years, probably not until like 4 or 5 years later. He wouldn't even talk to his own sister, which is my mom, because of this. This was before I found out his younger brother, my uncle Ghazar, got raped by his own cousin, okay, when he was a kid. And these people were projecting it onto me, okay? Do you understand? I found out he got raped when I told him that my mom's boyfriend, Manug, the Bosai, tried to sexually come on to me. And my uncle said I was the one that got raped when I was younger by my cousin. And if I was him, I would have done the same to you. That's when I found out. And I found out when I was like 25. All these years later. And, and it just makes me think, because it's like, you're an adult man. You had multiple businesses. You had a cottage. You had multiple cottages. He had like 7 pizza joints at one point, okay? Like in the 90s. He had a mansion in the 90s. And you couldn't put me aside and just talk to me. All they had to do, first of all, my mind wasn't going anywhere sexual. Number 2, I was a kid. Maybe they got scared. Okay. But like, as adults, isn't it your responsibility to just, instead of project and get scared and disgusted by your own, to just sit me aside and be a parent? You know what I mean? And to say, oh, honey, it's okay. Like, you don't have to hang out with us. Maybe Silva could have just been like, come with me. Let's cook together. I'll teach you how to, do this, hang out with me. It's not like she offered for me to hang out with her either. It was always about, yeah, you go do your own thing. You know what I'm saying? So the incompetence in the family of just the upbringing. And she would always be like, oh, you're like my little girl. You're my like my daughter. I've always wanted a little girl. Fast forwarding. And I'm so sorry I'm bringing this up for the eclipse video. It's just that it's a Scorpio eclipse. Okay, guys? Scorpio is about poison. It's about family. It's about secrets in the family. It's about, I have 4th house in Scorpio, okay? That's dirty ass secrets in the family. And in Pluto in Scorpio, And Vedic astrology, my moon is in Pluto. My moon is in Scorpio. So it's like, this shit, it shapes up a little girl. Do you get what I'm saying? How she views like family and people and everything. It just shapes a little girl that it's like, I could never rely on anyone. I couldn't rely on a friend. I couldn't rely on any family member. I couldn't rely on anyone because I was always misguided, mistrusted, misjudged because of their own fucking insecurities as parents, as people, as humans. Do you get what I mean? And years go by, my dad dies. Okay, my dad dies. I was like, years go by. Harut, the older brother of Haik, shows up for the first time ever, because we never saw him, like he was always away. And he came to kiss me to say my condolences. It was at our house. And he goes, I didn't understand why you were, you know, when you were always alone in the bedroom and growing up. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I didn't understand until I became a father. He goes, and I had a girl and my daughter's a lot like you. And I'm like, okay. And I remember seeing Haig at the corner and he got awkward. So he came up to give me a hug, Haig, probably because I didn't even realize. He goes, I was seeing therapy. I was seeing a therapist because I couldn't understand until I had a daughter. And Haig came and he interrupted everything. And it wasn't until like a few years ago where I put it all together, all the pieces together. And then I recalled his wife, who's a white Canadian woman, Harut's, my older cousin. His wife was saying how her daughter, when she was little, she was always humping like the chair or underneath the table when they would eat dinner. I never did such things. But it could be that when I was in the pool by myself and I was trying to clean myself, maybe that's what he thought when he saw me. So I put all that 2 and 2 together and I was like, the mere fact that this couldn't have been, you know what I mean, presented in a way that it's like, he's like, oh, my mom, you know, and I remember her going, these things are normal. Like, it's a little, they don't know, it's normal. It doesn't mean anything wrong. So these people for many years, they took it in a complete different context. And I felt abandoned and rejected. I felt unloved, unwanted by my own aunts and uncles. And my uncle ignored me for years after that. He wouldn't come next to me. He would give me dirty looks. He wouldn't hug me. He wouldn't kiss me, nothing. Not until he ended up getting sick and something happened to his throat. Then he started being nice to me. And then I didn't see him after that anyways because my mom had a stroke. And I never went to the events or the family things, gatherings, because they moved up north and they started inviting over that rapist for dinner. So I stopped associating. So my thing is, do you see how in the world, when people are again, like, it's like they take out their shit on the innocent. They treat the innocents like shit. And like the abusers, they put them at dinner tables. Do you get what I'm saying here? Do you see the injustice? And this is almost like everywhere when this shit happens. Okay, so again, I'm sorry. I don't have sage for me to burn sage and clear the energy right now. It's just that I needed to get that out for some reason, and maybe that's going to resonate with someone in particular. But apparently Petra, where I'm going in Amman, Jordan, apparently there's an area where it's like all red, and it's known to be an area called Mars. It looks like the planet Mars. And I find that so fascinating because I'm in alignment with the North Node in Aries. My North Node is in Aries, and Aries is ruled by Mars. So everything is just going together. And I just want to say one more time, I just feel like if you're a parent or if you're an aunt or an uncle or a cousin, it's like, can you just look at things in a different perspective, like how you're affecting a child's life, her self-esteem, and her trust in her family and people around her? Even if you're witnessing something and you see it for what it is, or you think it's something else, it's like, have the courage and the bravery to sit that child down and talk to them. I've witnessed my own niece and nephew touching their private parts in front of me, okay? Yes, it's awkward. Yes, it's weird. It can freak you the hell out, but it's the responsibility of the elder to put that child aside and to talk to that child in a loving way, and not a rude way, not ignore them, not discriminate, not be rude to them, okay? And they don't even know what it is. They don't understand. They don't know what that is. It's like it's like having an additional hand or an arm or a leg or your head, and you're just learning what everything is. You're peeing out of there, you're pooping out, there's certain things, and it's like, grow up. This is the whole point of being an adult, is to show the children the way. We don't know everything as adults, but you can give compassion and understanding. Because if you can't, the only thing you're teaching that child is abandonment and neglect, and they're going to feel unloved, and they'll feel abused, or they'll start abusing others. Anyway, it's a lot, but I know it's a lot. So I'm going to pull out a few cards from the Kali deck to, I don't know, maybe just help release a Scorpion. Pluto, Scorpio used to be ruled by Mars in ancient times, and then Pluto was discovered, and then it kind of was passed on to Aries. So the theme of breaking down the old for the past 11 years. Oh my God, look at that. Krishna. The theme that's closing up this cycle of like the Scorpio Lunar Eclipse that's taking place May the 5th. It's literally an 11-year cycle, okay? And this one is Kalika Tantrika. This one comes up quite often. Every time I see, it's like misjudgments, This is actually, it looks like Jordan too. Oh my goodness. But yeah, you want to always look at these cards with how it resonates with you on your personal level. But it's like, it's time to move forward, man. Like, the thing is, though, when practitioners and therapists and psychologists and healers say it's time to move on and move forward, it doesn't mean like you detach to the point where you just forget, in a sense, that you forget where you come from, you forget the lessons, you forget who you are, or pretend like it doesn't matter. Everything matters in a sense of it helps you to align with who you're becoming. You don't want to ignore something. If you ignore it, it persists and it hurts more when you have to face it in another way in the future. Kali Kalmasa Nasini. So it's like all this time, like I said, this is going to be an awkward video for some people. All this time when I was a little girl, that means Harut, and and he was probably telling his uncle Ruben, his father Ruben, my uncle, that all this time when I was hiding in my room, they probably thought I was touching myself. And I was just like contemplating on it, and I was like, that's what they thought. Meanwhile, I just felt like awkward because I was, always made fun of from my family that I should just, girls don't associate. You have to not be around. You just, and my dad was always sick. He was always laying down in bed, but Sri Bala, making peace with the past. We have to acknowledge the darkness. Scorpio is ruled by private parts. It's right there. The private creative energy and the awkwardness that comes with adulthood. Because I remember underneath Harut, my older cousin's bed, he had lots of like porn and nude women, like magazines, hundreds and thousands. So it's like, it's all projections. Do you get what I mean? Everything is a projection rather than sitting one down and talking to them about it. Matangi. And it's like he's telling me he had to have therapy for many years to get over it. Meanwhile, I had no fucking clue. I didn't even seek therapy, though I should have. Though I've been giving myself therapy about that in particular. It's just like when you go see a therapist, how many things do you freaking talk about? Shodashi. These are all like Mars colors. It's so interesting because Here's the eclipse card again. It's just so interesting because we're growing in life, right? Life is a never-ending, like, growth. It's a never-ending... And it's just, it's painful. You know, these things are, it's painful. It's painful because I felt unloved, unwanted, and I didn't even know the reason why. It was always Talad is unacceptable. It's always Talad, you know, and I learned that from my mother. And so because I learned that from my mother, that my existence is unacceptable. I'm a female, I'm unacceptable no matter what I say, do, or don't say, or don't do. I was like the easiest child to have around. I never told people I was hungry. I always was alone playing with myself, in a sense of playing with toys or watching a movie. Even when I was at people's houses, like I would never ask for things. You know, Silva would go and buy food and like toys and like gadgets and things for all the boys that would stay at her house, her friends, all Haig's friends. She would never even say, let me get you a Barbie doll or like a toy. We would go to the toy stores. Let me get you a pen and a pencil and like do something for you. No, and I never would say anything. And it was always like, no matter all the friends that I had, it was never about me. Like people would never consider me. It was always like I had to keep my mouth shut and sacrifice who I am just to make others feel better, and nobody would ever consider me. And it was like everywhere. Even my father's side of the family. And I just could never understand why my luck was that way. So I started actually believing that I'm unlovable when I was growing up as a child. And then it all changed when I started seeing my own worth and understanding my value, that they're all just projecting their own fears and insecurities on me, and that I was always naturally a healer. And so I was healing them without them knowing and bringing them good luck. They'd sit next to me and they would feel better. And I felt like shit after. You know what I mean? This card keeps coming up again. So it's like, know your worth, everyone. Kalamala Devi, I like this card. It's very beautiful. Just know your worth. Work on that self-esteem. I have to do it all the time. I still have to do it, you know. No matter how many things we think we can accumulate to make up for it, or make, you know, have animals or new friends, that self-esteem can never be projected through their actions or deeds towards you. The self-esteem comes within, okay? And again, I was never taught these things. I had to learn it the hard way. Kali Kapali. So I'm just sending out that message to you. Know your worth. Work on your self-esteem on a regular basis. You don't have to expect people to show you or not show you. And if they don't show you that you're worthy, you do not need their validation. You're worthy and you will always be worthy. Okay, so that's the main message of the eclipse happening from May 5th moving onwards. Mercury goes direct on the 14th, my birthday. But we always look at it, you know, by the time it actually is settled down, it takes another 2 weeks, okay? So thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions, send me a message at redearthgoddess@gmail.com, my old YouTube name. If you would like to make a purchase of a reading or a healing session with me, you can also send me an email at that same address. And I have a business website coming out very soon, possibly end of May or early June, probably the end of May. So I'm thrilled about that as well. And that's it. That's the main message. Take care for now. Bye-bye.